Good morning, dear students. Today we are going with the second lesson. The story is The Thieves Story. This story is named as The Thieves Story and it's written by the famous English writer Ruskin Bond. The Thieves Story. A young boy makes friends with Anil. Anil trusts him completely and employs him. Does the boy betray his trust? Read and find out. Who is the I in the story? What is he a fairly successful hand at? What does he get from Anil in return for his work? I'm going to read the first paragraph. Listen. I was still a thief when I met Anil, and though only 15, I was an experienced and fairly successful hand. Anil was watching a wrestling match when I approached him. He was about 25, a tall, lean fellow, and he looked easygoing, kind, and simple enough for my purpose. I hadn't had much luck of late and thought I might be able to get into the young man's confidence. You look a bit of a wrestler yourself, I said. A little flattery helps in making friends. So do you, he replied, which put me off for a moment because at that time I was rather thin. The story begins from the viewpoint of the thief, the main character of the story, and when he met Anil, he was only 15. The little boy, the thief, was only 15, but at the same time he himself agreed that he was a successful thief, which means he could do stealing things without others noticing it. And he wanted to catch the attention of Anil and to make him the next victim of his robbery. And then for that, he wanted to get the attention of Anil. For that, he made a trick. As Anil was watching a wrestling match, when this little thief approached Anil, and then Anil was looking only around 25, a tall and lean fellow, and he was looking like an easygoing man, and he looked kind, simple, and this boy felt that Anil is the most suitable person for him to do. And he tried to make a flattery for him, telling that he was a wrestler. He was looking like a wrestler. Anil seemed to be so happy that he replied that the little boy also looked like one of a wrestler. But this boy was not at all able to believe such a comment because he was too thin and was not having such a strong body nature. The next part. Well, I said modestly, I do wrestle a bit. What's your name? Harry Singh. I lied. I took a new name every month that kept me ahead of the police and my former employers. And this introduction, Anil talked about the well-oiled wrestlers who were grunting, lifting, and throwing each other about. I didn't have much to say. Anil walked away. I followed casually. Hello again. I gave him my most appealing smile. I want to work for you, I said, but I can't pay you. Here in this part, when they started talking, Anil also agreed that this boy also looked like a wrestler. Then the boy agreed that he do wrestling a little bit. And in a sudden, Anil's question came about his name. Then he lied that his name was Harry Singh. And that was a trick of him because every month or something like that, he used to change his name so that he will not get caught by the police. And at the same time, he will be escaping from the former employers also, the people who gave him job. Because whenever he worked, he was doing some robbery from the and he was escaping without giving any identity of him for the former employer. And like that, he said a wrong name for him here, and the name he gave here was Harry Singh. And after the introduction, they talked a lot about, Anil was talking a lot about the old wrestlers and all those things. and their actions, what they were doing, how good they are in doing all those things. And harassing our little boy had nothing much to say about all those things, but he listened it. And after the talk, Anil started moving and this boy started following. In a sudden, this boy called the man and requested to have a job for him. But Anil said he had nothing to pay for the boy. Next paragraph. I thought that over for a minute. Perhaps I had misjudged my man. I asked, "Can you feed me?" "Can you cook?" "I can cook," I lied again. "If you can cook, then maybe I can feed you." He took me to his room over the Jumna street shop and told me I could sleep on the balcony. But the meal I cooked that night must have been terrible because Anil gave it to a stray dog and told me to be off. But I just hung around, smiling in my most appealing way, and he couldn't help laughing. Here, in a sudden, when this little boy heard about the reply of Anil, what was Anil saying? He said that he may be having work for this boy, but he'll not be able to pay for the little boy. In a sudden, when he heard that, he thought for a while and he had another question to Anil: can he feed this boy? Then Anil had another question whether he can cook. That means Anil wanted only a cook there. And in a sudden, this boy lied again that he could cook. Anil had one more condition. He said that this little boy had to stay in the balcony of the house. So that because he had only one room and there Anil is staying. He had no other place to sleep also. So all those problems are there. Anil already informed the problems. But the boy agreed with that. And the first day itself, Anil could have realized that he is not very good in cooking, because whatever he cooked, that was really horrible that he could give it to a street dog. But our little boy was not ready to stop all these activities. He gave a beautiful smile which was most appealing that even Anil could not stop laughing. Which means Anil really could understand that he is not very good at cooking, but Anil could not leave him alone. Next part. Later he patted me on the head and said never mind, he'd teach me to cook. He also taught me to write my name and said he'd soon teach me to write whole sentence and to add numbers. I was grateful. I knew that once I could write like an educated man, there would be no limit to what I could achieve. Here, Anil understood it very well that this boy can't do anything like cooking, but he was really sympathetic towards the boy that he agreed to make the boy learn cooking, and meanwhile he made the boy learn writing and the basics of mathematics like addition and subtraction, all those things also. And now this boy was more interested to stay there with Anil himself, because he knew it very well that once when he learned to write like an educated man, it will be very easy for him to get more wonderful opportunities and he will not be able to be stopped by somebody else. Next paragraph. It was quite pleasant working for Anil. I made the tea in the morning and then would take my time buying the day's supplies, usually making a profit of about ₹1 a day. I think he knew I made a little money this way, but he did not seem to mind. Now Hari Singh started a good routine with Anil. It was quite good actually to work with Anil. There was no compulsion of or no quarrel, no fights or something like that. Every day morning Hari Singh used to make tea for both of them, and after that Hari Singh would go for buying things for the supply. And usually every day what he would do is he would buy the things, and from the shopping he would save at least ₹1. You may now think what is there in ₹1, but this story happened very long back. that the 1 rupee also cost very high valuable for their life. Even he felt that Anil also knew that thing, but Anil was not looking like he mind all those things. Because Anil never asked about that money and was not at all concerned about what the boy was doing with that amount. Next paragraph. Anil made money by fits and starts. He would borrow 1 week, lend the next. He kept worried about his next check, but as soon as it arrived, he would go out and celebrate. It seems he wrote for magazines, a queer way to make a living. One evening, he came home with a small bundle of notes saying he had just sold a book to a publisher. At night, I saw him tuck the money under the mattress. This paragraph says how Anil was making a living. He was doing a lot of other things. He was making money by making fits and starts, and he was lending the money which he was borrowing from somebody else. And whatever it is, he will be really worried about the check which he has to clear for the next week. But in a sudden, when he got the problem solved, he'll go and celebrate it, which means he was never worried about the future, only about the present situation. And it looked like he used to write for magazines also, and Harrison felt that it was something a strange way to make a living. And on one evening, he came with a small bundle of notes, which means he was having some amount of money with him, and he said that he got a book sold into a publisher. And he saw Harrison saw Anil keeping that bundle of notes tucked under the mattress, and he not it because he was in a purpose to steal the money from Anil. Next paragraph. I had been working for Anil for almost a month, and apart from cheating on the shopping, had not done anything in my line of work. I had every opportunity of doing it. Anil had given me a key to the door and could come and go as I pleased. He was the most trusting person I had ever met. And here, the boy is telling that he was, as we heard in the beginning of the passage, he was taking 1 rupee from the shopping, and even Anil also seems to be know about all those things, but he did not ask about it. Only that the wrong thing he was doing all these days for a long 1 month time. He was not doing any other thing, even though he had all the rights, means he had all the opportunities to do that, because Anil was giving one key to this boy, and he was not having any problem. The boy, whenever he comes to the room and opens it and enters it. And the boy felt that Anil is one of the most trusting person he had ever seen in the entire world. Next paragraph. And that's why it was so difficult to rob him. It's easy to rob a greedy man because he can afford to be robbed. But it's difficult to rob a careless man. Sometimes he doesn't even notice he has been robbed, and that takes all the pleasure out of the work. Well, it's time I did some real work. I told myself I'm out of practice, and if I don't take the money, he'll only waste it on his friends. After all, he doesn't even pay me. And this paragraph says that because of this reason, Harrison felt difficult to rob him. Because if it is a greedy man, it would be easy. Means it will be very easy to rob him, and he would adjust with the situation. He may have some complaints, he may have some fights, all those things will happen. But Harrison noticed that Anil, if he is stealing money from Anil's part, then he might not even have noticed, And that's where he felt that he would miss all the pleasure of robbing. In a sudden, Harrison felt that he has to do some real work, has to go for something different. And then he said himself he is having a long time out of practice. For a long 1 month, he was not having any work. He was simply doing the cooking for Anil and was doing shopping and having 1 rupee from him, and for the rest he was a good boy only. And now he planned something and he has to take the money. What he said himself was, if he was not taking the money, this man Anil is not going to spend it usefully, but he is going to waste it for his friends. And whatever is the condition, for the long 1 month he didn't pay anything to me, so it's my right to take the money for my payment at least. That's what Harrison felt, and now he decided to take the money for himself. Before continuing the lesson, let's have a look at some question answers which are given here. I'll read the questions now. Read and find out. How does the thief think Anil will react to the theft? Second question, what does he say about the different reactions of people when they are robbed? Third question, does Anil realize that he has been robbed? Think about all these answers and write the answers in your notebook and share it with me. Let's continue with the lesson. The next paragraph. Anil was asleep. A beam of moonlight stepped over the balcony and fell on the bed. I sat upon the floor, considering the situation. If I took the money, I could catch the 10:30 express to Lucknow. Slipping out of the blanket, I crept up to the bed. Anil was sleeping peacefully. His face was clear and unlined. Even I had more marks on my face, though mine were mostly scars. My hands slid under the mattress, searching for the notes. When I found them, I drew them out without a sound. Anil sighed in his deep sleep and turned on his side towards me. I was startled and quickly crawled out of the room. Now, Harrison has decided to take the money from Anil, and that night, when Anil fell asleep, Harrison was waiting for him to go into very deep sleep, and then he was thinking if he could catch the money by that time itself. He was expected to get the express to 10 Lucknow at 10:30, which means he has to leave before 10:30 from the home, that he would get that express which goes at 10:30 p.m. And then he was thinking about all those things, and slightly he came out of his blanket and then went near to the bed. Anil was sleeping very peacefully, very quiet, and then just his face was looking very clean and clear, and this boy also was having a very clean and clear face, but most of his part was having scars. Scars means wounds, the marks of wounds. And then in a sudden, when he reached near the bed, he kept his hand under the mattress and was searching for the money. And he got the money without any sound. He took it for him, and then Anil had a deep sigh in his sleep and turned to this boy's side. He was really afraid that he quickly crawled out of the room. He quickly moved out of the room. Hope you understood the lesson very well. If you have any doubts, you can talk to me in WhatsApp or you can ring me personally. Thank you. Have a nice day.